Right, so we are here at Hannover at the IAA exhibition, which is the launch of the new T7 Transporter. So we put a few pictures up on our social media last night of the video press release they did, and today we've got early press access. So me and Mikey are here to wander around, have a look at them and answer all the questions that I asked you what you wanted us to ask last night on social media, and we'll try and answer as many as we can. We've given one of the guys here a real grilling. He's actually been really helpful, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just over there. But yeah, you grilled him for about 45 minutes and he helped with everything. So yeah.
Yeah, and there's only one question they didn't answer, but we'll come to that at the end. But so we thought we'd wander around and show you what they're like and what we think of them. My genuine first impression is, as with everything, when the T5.1 came out, when the T6 came out, the T6.1 came out, I just didn't really like them, but I knew they'd grow to love them. I did really like the T6.1.
We do like the 6.1, yeah.
And they all grew on me, and these are growing on me the more I look at them, and we're going to answer all of the obvious questions. And it's not even an elephant in the room, is it, the whole Ford thing? Because everyone knows about the Ford thing. But we thought the best way to handle this video is me and Mikey would just walk around and talk about them. We asked Marion, I think it is. The really helpful German guy. A load of questions and I'll forget them all, so between us hopefully we'll remember. First of all, let's start over at the panel van. So this is the T7. So it is going to be called a T7, the T7 multivan as we've seen. It's still the T7 multivan, but this is the T7 commercial vehicle. So this is, yes, as everybody would say, in lots of ways the same as a Transit Custom. But where are they different? So let's start off by explaining the differences. So tailgate
is, firstly, they're confirmed to which parts were the same, which parts were different. They could confirm that this is a completely different panel. The lights are different, tailgate's different. As you can see from the back, it is more Volkswagen than the Transit. If you looked at the Transit, then it is night and day actually when you get the two side by side.
Right, so from the front is completely different. So the panels from here, so your driver's door, wings, bonnet, front, headlights, front grille, all of that is completely different. Internally, the seats are different. So as much as the bodies of the seats, the foams are the same, they're all trimmed differently between the Volkswagen and the Ford. They actually feel different. I'm guessing they add some sort of additional comfort. Volkswagen has very much tried to make this vehicle their own. Yes, we all know it's a Ford underneath, but Volkswagen have had their input into so many elements of it. So the suspension's different across the platforms, the steering's different, the steering wheels are different, there's certain elements inside the cab, infotainment systems will be different as well between the Ford and the Volkswagen in the way they scroll and the way they move. Volkswagen have tried to make it feel like, what was their words? Their idea being that
in 3 minutes you feel like you're in a VW, not a Ford, isn't it?
Well, no, I think 3 minutes. So if you've got a T6.1,
you can use it, can't you? Within 3 minutes.
It's intuitive, and if you're a T6.1 driver, you can get in one of these, and it feels like a Volkswagen. And from what we can see so far, it does feel very Volkswagen-like inside. We had concerns about certain things like panel gaps and stuff that we'd seen on the other ones, and so far they seem, whether it's just because they're show models, but they definitely seem like they're better than we have of our current Ford. Our Ford Transit Custom is one of the very first ones. Just had no end of product recalls, but I would think this period of time between Volkswagen releasing theirs is partly down to the fact that they want to iron out any issues that Ford have had, so by the time they come out they don't have the issues that Ford have had in the earlier ones.
I think they've used it as a shakedown test, haven't they?
Yeah.
To get it, or see what's going wrong and what they need to change. So it seems like some of the things that are bugging us have been ironed out. Suspension-wise,
as I've said earlier, the Volkswagen stuff is completely different to the Ford stuff, and the steering system. Engine-wise, engine-wise drive system, so the 4Motion system is the Ford's one.
Yeah.
The engine are all Fords, the gearbox are all Fords. And that's all we've got to say about that just now. So spec-wise, so this is their panel van, although this is the electric panel van. So the charging point is just here, which is quite interesting. So the panel van. I'm assuming this will come in a couple of versions, so it'll have this will be what I would consider to be more like a Highline spec with colour-coded bumpers, and you would think they would have a start line spec. And then this is their Panamericana, which is this is actually the 4Motion version, so it's coming in. They have a few colours that will cross over between the ranges, or they have a lot of colours that will cross over, but then there are also limited colours that Volkswagen only will do. This being one, so this is the Volkswagen only colour. The blue over there of the Caravelle, which will show you, that's also an exclusive Volkswagen colour. And actually, I was just talking to them, and there's going to be, as well as the standard colours, your greys, your reds, your blues, and all those, there will be 57 special edition colours, so a bit like your chrome yellows, or your ones that are ordered specifically for like German Post Office or Coca-Cola.
DHL.
Yeah, or your unique colours that actually the end user can do, but they're special order colours that most people don't know about. But there's 57 of those available as well. So Panamericana, I can't say that. Panamericana.
Yeah.
Sounds like a coffee, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
I actually really like it. I really like this colour. Yes, you look at it from the side, that back section, and it says it's a Ford. But this front section does look different. There are obviously shared elements of it, but the lights, the front grille, the bonnet and everything does look very much more Volkswagen. Now, you know, in loads of the comments people are saying, well, where's the styling gone? This happens every time a new Transporter comes out. T5 to T5.1 comes out and everybody hates it because they're just so stuck in their ways, aren't they? They're used to what they see and they hate change. But your mind and your eyes grow to like things. I guarantee you people will start to like the look of them, certainly, as time goes on.
Start using the positives, you can make it your own.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
splitters on it, spoilers, sidebars, lowering, wheels, you know, we're constantly developing these parts and you're going to drastically change one in no time, I'm sure.
Yeah, we were fortunate that having the Transit Custom, we could already work on suspension and wheels, haven't we? So we've got Navis wheels already for these.
Well.
Yeah, and a bunch of other stuff which will cross over between the two platforms. So it's given us the ability to be able to, when these land, actually have loads of products available for them, hopefully. So yeah, Panamericana. I'm going to really struggle with this one. Panamericana.
A little star after it's Panamericana.
Yeah. I assume that's going to all be 4Motion. I guess it's like their 4x4 targeted audience. So this is the 4Motion, and it's just a bit more detail internally. Seats are finished slightly differently, and there'll be a bunch of other extras.
They're a nice spec, aren't they? We've got the Amarok, and you could get the Panamericana in that, couldn't you? And it's a really nice spec.
Is that like their highest end?
Yeah,
one?
I think so. It's like a bit. We're guessing here, but I think it's a bit more of a special edition. You've got a few more extras. They tend to be fully loaded anyway. Even the basic vans are a really good spec, aren't they?
Yeah.
So.
I actually really like all this detailing with the textured black, like the arches. Like Mikey said earlier on, the tailgates and the barn doors are different across the Ford and the Volkswagen platform. Volkswagen have made them very much theirs. The line follows all the way around and follows on the bonnet, which doesn't on the Transit. Sorry, the lights are different, the colour inserts are different. That's not something that's available on the Ford, but looks smart. This, not so keen on. Right, so one thing we weren't sure about is why they have two cameras. We were unsure whether this was a 360 camera. Some of them, if they've got a rear screen, this appears to be bonded to the back of the glass. We've just asked one of the guys what this is. So this is actually your digital rear view camera. So this one here is your reverse camera as you would have normally. And this camera here, if you come inside and have a look. So up here, where you do have this as a mirror so you can see your reflection in it, you can see inside there is a screen. So that's a digital rear view camera as well, which is using that top camera on the back. But externally, let's look at the positives. Internally, they're bigger than the old Transporter. The wheelbase is longer. They can fit. They're wider and they're taller than the old Transporter.
8x4 sheets in, which is the biggest positive for the builders, tradesmen. Fit full plasterboard sheets in without having to cut them down.
Having the wider wheelbase means that, or between the arches, means you can put a Euro pallet in them comfortably, which I think was a struggle in the old Transporter. It was doable, but only just. Downsides to that is it limits us in what we can do with the wheels. So we've just done 8.5-inch wheels for them. Just do an 8.5.
20 by 8.5.
Whereas like historically on Transporters we've been able to run like a 9 front and 10.5 and even 11 rear sometimes, depending on what your ET is, whereas we think you're going to be limited to an 8.5 all round on these, but we're sure we can make wheels to make them look good and also lowering them to make them look good, of course. So over to this one. So this is what they call the Caravelle. It's really smart. So this blue I'm sure is already available in the Amarok. Particularly like this is a special colour that you won't be able to get in any of the Ford stuff. So to me, this is what we would call a shuttle. So this is available as a 9-seater. This is an 8-seater with the 3 rows that go out the back. So what we're used to seeing is a Caravelle with a sliding seat system, which won't exist anymore in the Transporter platform. So what Volkswagen have done is that's where they've separated the multivan. So what we would call a Caravelle with a sliding seat system is now the platform that they use, the multivan with the sliding seats, and then your what we would have called in the UK a shuttle, where you have your individual seats, your more kind of minibus style, is what this is, which they're calling a Caravelle. So whether it'll be called a shuttle or whether it'll change and it'll come to the UK. But in short, what I'm getting at is the whole sliding seat system won't be available in the T7 platform.
T7, yeah.
But as Mikey said, we believe, having spoken to Ford, their Tornio is available with a sliding seat system, so there's no reason why
you can't retrofit them over.
Yeah, just borrow the parts from the Ford dealer instead and retrofit them over. But if you ignored the fact that everybody's talking about the Ford thing, I think they're actually really nice.
It is a real grower as well. I mean, I think like everyone, you saw the renders on the adverts and you weren't too sure, but when you see them in person in the flesh, they are actually really nice things, and they've come leaps and bounds from from the older Transporter. I
Yeah.
know as soon as we get back from the airport, I'm going to get in mine and feel really dated.
Yeah.
So.
In your T6.1.
In my T6.1, yeah. So, but they're a really nice place to be. The quality doesn't seem Ford-like, to be honest with you. It's
No, the Volkswagen guy was saying, so yes, they're made in Turkey, that was one of our questions, but there's two production lines, so there's a Ford production line and there's a Volkswagen production line. Volkswagen run the Volkswagen production line, Ford run the Ford production line, and they're made two completely different production lines in the same factory because there's obviously shared elements of them, but they're monitoring the quality control in Volkswagen side and Ford do their thing. So yes, they're made together, but they are different in the way that they're put together and the machinery used to put them together. So one of the things we asked why, and why people keep saying this in the comments, but why have VW done this? Yeah, they've destroyed it. That was the last of the Transporters. You know, it makes no sense. Well, the truth is, it's about cost. Here in Germany, where the Transporter was made originally, or you know, up until the T6.1 in Hannover, the cost of living here and the cost of wages and everything is so much higher here. Volkswagen were unable, the Transporter platform as we know it, could not continue to be made in Germany because the costs are so high. Now, when you're making an empty panel van, there's not a lot to it. They're not able to make their money in the bits that they add to it. So production level meant that producing those empty panel vans meant that they were just losing money. So if they continue to do that with a new platform, all the development that would need to go into designing a new Transporter, they can't reinvent the T6.1 again. That vehicle's been the same since 2003, yeah. So they couldn't reinvent it again. It needed a completely different change. So when they've invested so much money in the other platforms that they've brought out since, like the ID Birds and the Multivan and things that they've done to the Crafter and the Grand California, they can't continue to develop in the Transporter platform. So this collaboration with Ford seemed the best thing to do, and I totally understand why. It means that the vehicle is affordable to be able to be made because they're made in Turkey in a collaboration, so the investment's gone between the two companies to make the vehicle. Now, one of the things we asked was price.
Yeah.
How do we expect them to stack up against the Ford? And there's no definitive answer there, but I think what you'll find is they can't price match. They can't. It's like it's a legal thing, isn't it? They can't have the same pricing. It's against the law. But what you'll find is you won't be able to get the same spec across the two platforms, so you won't get a Ford Transit Custom with the same spec as the Volkswagen. But the end result will be comparable. Volkswagen haven't set their prices based on what Ford have set their prices. Volkswagen have set their prices based on what Volkswagen set their prices. They say that they've got nothing to do with the way that Ford have priced theirs. But it's like the Ranger and the Amarok. You can't really get the same spec of two vehicles to price compare them. Everybody thought the Amarok would be considerably more expensive than the Ranger, but it isn't. You just get more spec in it for your money. So you spec'd up the Ford to have a similar spec, you would be getting the same money. So I think they're going to be very comparable, but the simple fact is they couldn't have produced this van or their version of a complete Volkswagen build here in Germany. The vehicle just wouldn't have existed. It had to have just disappeared. So it's kind of was the best route for them, and having spoke to them, I understand why. So just some other things we've noticed as we're going around. One of the things Mikey spotted straight away.
door locks. Our Transit's got a door lock about here, size of a tennis ball.
Yeah.
But VW have got it into the door handle, which is a massive relief for us.
Yeah, we hated that. Is that like a very circular thing here with a lock-in on the Ford, but Volkswagen built it into the handles. So another little feature we've just discovered we like. So in the back of this combi, you've got your 3 seats, but you've also got armrests. Just a nice little addition. And if you look under there, as you can see there, if you look under there, you've got all that additional storage in there as well. And more features we just keep discovering as we're going around. So this is the panel van version, and here you've got a button which is for your folding tow bar, and as you'll see there, the tow bar comes out from underneath. Nice addition, and your electrics are all built into the side of that there. Similar to the ID Bird, so you can just fold that away. Over in the panel van as well, a nice little feature here. So if you need to put long sheets of board or something into here, and you would be limited by the space in the bulkhead, there's this liftable section in the bulkhead which allows you to put, I mean this is obviously the passenger seat of the left-hand drive, but it would be on this side in the UK vehicle to add extra length. You can add stuff in the back of the vehicle there and put longer sheets in. So this is again what they're calling the Caravelle, but we've looked on the website, and in the UK this will be what we know as a shuttle. So I think we've mentioned previously the Caravelle format that we're used to with the sliding seats will now be in the multivan platform. But the shuttle, their Caravelle, has a nice few of the little touches. So as well as the folding tow bar we've shown you, there's also a little light switch on here which adds lights to the tailgate just for extra visuals, and they're also on rockers so they can angle the light in different directions. So with the roof bars, this is how easy they are to fold. So on one side you just got a handle that you pull, release, and it folds down flat. It's a really quick, simple, easy way to be able to put your roof bars up and down. So as much as it seems that like there's two versions of headlights for these vehicles, so this one here has the IQ headlights, which we've seen. So the IQ headlights are already available in other vehicles like the ID Buzz. So that looks like that would be the high-end one. But the lower spec vehicles also appear to have a full LED headlight, but just more of a basic version without the IQ feature. So anybody that's not experienced the IQ feature before, it's where when your main beamer on, it tracks vehicles, and if the vehicle's in front of you with its lights on, its rear lights, it senses that there and it blocks out that bit of high beam, so it's not blinding the oncoming traffic. So on the manuals, the gear stick is here, but then over on the automatic version, the shifter is up here, and then where your gear stick would be, you've got cup holder and a docking station. Yeah, so those must be a version of the Comfort Dash. So this one is an automatic, but this vehicle has 3 seats, but instead here of that arrangement you've got a fold out cup holder and then additional charging points here, because that console that I just showed wouldn't work with a 2+1 front seat. The door cards are different on these, on the Volkswagen too, they are on the Ford as well. So the Volkswagen guy was telling us that they've made these, so in your seating position, it's different from the Ford. They've completely designed their door card so this is higher, more level with the seat for people that like to sit with their arm on the door card as opposed to just on an armrest if the vehicle didn't have armrests. Right, so far we've been referring to this as the T7 because when you look on the Transporter, and when you look on the Volkswagen website, it says the T7. But Volkswagen actually reached out to me this morning on our social media and said thank you for being here and thank you for all your coverage, but we're not using the name T7. They're just referring to it as the new Transporter and the new Caravelle, which I assume for us will be the new Shuttle, which was confused me because we've seen and we've been calling it a T7, as does their website. And they actually then replied back and said, we sent them a screen print actually of their website and said, you're calling it the T7 on the website. And they said, yeah, that was just an oversight, thanks for pointing it out, and they would get that amended. So I don't know. Apparently it's the new Transporter. Is it a T7? Is it a new Transporter? But I can't see that they're going to eliminate the whole T-Series. You can't go T6.1 and then just the new Transporter. I think whether they decide to call it the T7 or not, I'm sure other people will. It's similar to, like, in Germany, the T5.1 as we know it, they call it T5.2. So I don't know. Confuses me, but still unsure. Is it a T7? Is it the new Transporter? Is it both? So last night me and Mikey got talking because lots of your comments were like, why would Volkswagen do this? Why do this with Ford? Why don't they do it themselves? And as we mentioned yesterday, the simple answer is cost. They can't continue to produce the Transporter here in Hannover and Germany because the costs here are so high. It was like use it or lose it in some way. If Volkswagen hadn't done this collaboration with Ford and were able to make these vehicles in Turkey, the costs were just too high. So the price of the Transporter would have had to continue to go up. The trouble with a panel van certainly is it's so basic inside, there's no value in the extras they make. So the vehicle themselves, the bare shell, the most common seller, which would be the panel van, there's just no profit. They would lose money if they did it. So they've had to outsource to go elsewhere. So to continue that, they've had to collaborate with somebody. Then, when people say, well, why collaborate with Ford? Well, who else are they going to collaborate with? So Mikey was doing some research last night to try and get some figures for us, to give us an understanding so we knew what we could say to you guys. So looking at some figures, so year to date, Ford have far outsold Volkswagens on light commercial vehicles. So light commercial vehicles, 3.5 ton and below. So your Transporter platform. So year to date, Ford have sold nearly 70,000, whereas Volkswagen have sold 22,000. Vauxhall are actually sold more than Volkswagen in this year. Then breaking it down into models, so if we were just to look at the Transporter and the Transit Custom, so August, top selling models, so again, like a commercial vehicle, 3.5 ton or below, so your Transporter, Transit Custom. So number one seller is the Transit Custom, that sold just over 2,000 vehicles in August alone. 7th on the list is the Volkswagen Transporter with under 600 sales. The standard Transit, your regular Transit commercial vehicle, is sold more than that. That's sold 1,272. So you can see if Volkswagen are going to go to a partner to make a vehicle, who do they go to? The people that make the most vehicles. And people can say, oh well, my mate's had a Ford and he's had loads of problems, and why go to Ford? It's economies of scale, isn't it? It's the same thing. It's the more you have, the more faults you're going to get or you're going to hear of. When you look at how many vehicles Ford produce, they're more likely to have more problems than Volkswagen because they sell so many more vehicles. But the percentages, who knows? Are they the same? From what I've seen so far, I'm pleased. We both are. Me and Mikey both think the collaboration has worked well. I think Volkswagen have made the right choice. I don't think they had a choice. It was this or nothing. But what they have chosen and what they have created looks like a good vehicle, and I'm excited to get our hands on one and start working on one. Right, as soon as we walked in the hall, this was the first thing we saw before we saw the rest, and we kind of stopped and paused because we've always had a bit of a love for a single or a double cab based on what we've done previously. So this is the T7 double cab. So this is only going to be available from Volkswagen. Ford aren't going to be doing this platform. So this kind of setup with the double cab and the bed on the back there is only going to be available from Volkswagen. They're not doing a single cab. So what was he saying? It's down to the Crafter.
Crafter, yeah. So most workmen are using the Crafter.
Yeah, they lead the load, don't they?
They lead the load, yeah.
Yeah, so single cab versions from Volkswagen will come in the Crafter chassis cab. The Transporter will just be available as a double cab, but Ford won't do this at all. I mean, Ford will still do the standard Transit, won't they? Because workmen will need that, but you won't be able to get Transit Custom, whereas you will be able to get a T7. So this is one of the unique colour, I think. I think this is called Stone Grey.
It's a stunning colour if you can't see it. It probably looks white, because we thought it was white actually when we first walked past it.
It looks a bit like Porsche Ice Grey to me, but I think Volkswagen calling it Stone Grey. But we sent some pictures to Mitch, didn't we, when we saw it, we were excited, and Mitch said, least rings on the rear, but it's not. It is. Yeah.
Well, independent rear, like the other Transit is. Or the other T7.
But I really like it. Again, the commercial bumper, we've always liked commercial bumpers, but I think the Panamerica, Can you say it?
The Panamericana.
Yeah, that word is. It's got all the other black trims to it, so it's hard to see what the commercial version is going to look like. But the front of this gives us a good idea of how the commercial bumper will look without the arch mouldings and the detail on the side that the Panamericana has. So, let's talk engines. So currently available, very soon to order in the UK will be the diesel. In Germany they've been able to order them already in the diesel format, and he said within a couple of weeks he thinks we'll be able to. Yeah. That will then be followed by the full electric system. What did he say the range was? I think he said, certainly better than that e-Transporter. I think he said about, you were talking in kilometres, but I think it worked out like 150 to 200
he said,
miles.
But the UK gets slightly more, for some reason the UK driving styles and everything like that, you get slightly more range in the UK.
Well, we're stuck in traffic.
It's probably, but yeah, I think he said, was it 220 kilometres?
I feel like it was more than that. I feel like it was 300. I roughly worked it out to be like 150, 200 kilometres at the electric range version. Miles, like the electric one. But they're very much going into that. From looking around the show here, the Ford stand is so much electric stuff. Yeah. The Maxus stand is so much electric. They're very much...
Pretty much everything here is, isn't it? Yeah. All the stands are electric.
Yeah, they're really going heavy into that. So, diesel versions are available to order in the next couple of weeks. Electric will come next, and then the plug-in hybrid will come after that. And the plug-in hybrid is the 2.5 litre Ford engine with a hybrid system similar to the multivan as is now, which I think probably is going to give you like 30 miles of range, so not massive, but you've got that 2.5 litre engine in it, which meets all of the ULEZ standards and stuff as you would do with a modern petrol engine. So, yeah, I think that's all that covered. So, the big question that nobody can answer for us, and the thing that comes up so much, is this Ford wet belt thing. And we grilled the Volkswagen guy, and he was like, I would give you an answer if I had the answer, but I don't know. We're not primed to speak on the partners' previous issues. So I said, well, that's fine. We'll go and grill Ford then. So we left here, before we filmed this, we went over to the Ford garage and we grilled those guys. And all they could say to us was, they can't tell us, but the new Transit engine would have had changes from the old Transit Custom engine so as not to have the issues they had before. But whether it's a little bit, I don't know, German efficiency, or they don't want to say, or they don't want to put their job on the line, or quote something that's not real. And I've said, find out for me. I said, I need a definitive answer, because this is the one question we've been asked. If you can tell me categorically something's changed on the engine, it's going to give people the faith that they need to buy into this and the new Transit Custom. But all he could say was, all I can tell you is the new model was redesigned, and they would have changed anything that they had an issues with the old model, so it's not in the new model. I've said, give me facts. So we're going to go back later today.
There's an engineer there, isn't there, at some point?
Yeah, so apparently there's an engineer coming at some point. Now, we're only here for 2 days, but we'll go back tomorrow if we need to. We'll go back later on today and grill them and say, tell us, I need to know, what have you changed? Is it true? Because I know that everybody's asking the same question about this engine. But, I mean, I can't think. We've discussed this I don't know how many times. I cannot think top bod at Volkswagen sat down with the top bod at Ford and said, let's collaborate on building the vehicle. And the guy at Ford went, don't worry, we'll use our engine, knowing damn well that they had issues with wet belts if they weren't serviced regularly, or if they were parked up for ages and not used, or whatever reasons it is that wet belts go. I can't imagine Ford would want to produce a new vehicle with that engine, let alone let Volkswagen use that engine.
They won't want to tarnish the reputation, especially VW are so loved for their transporters. So we'll see.
So that's the big burning question, but we'll continue to press and get answers for that for you. But what I can tell you is, whether people agree with me or not, I really like them. I see they're different. I know no matter what happens, people aren't going to instantly fall in love with them. The more that you look at them, the more that you like them. If you didn't know it was a Ford underneath, if you aren't a die-hard transporter, if you're average Joe that walks into a Volkswagen dealership in the next 3 months, you're not going to know this is a Ford. You're just going to think you're buying a Volkswagen. You're going to sit in it, you're going to drive it, you're going to steer it, you're going to look at the infotainment system and feel like you're buying a Volkswagen. It's just we need to get away from this kind of idea that the Ford collaboration is an awful thing, and I know so many people are diehards, and I love a pre-faced T5, I love a T6.1, I love that platform. We've based our business on it, and I know we need to be saying that people are going to say that we're going to say we like it because we have no business without this. But what do you do if you don't buy a Volkswagen? You buy a Ford.
Yeah, after that.
You buy a Stellantis, I mean, nobody wants that. No. So Volkswagen are clever enough to not allow that the negativity of something like Ford's issues with a wet belt engine, or production quality, or product recalls, or panel gaps, or lines affect their business. They're too big for them. The Transporter platform is too big for them for that to happen. Right, we're still here, just doing some more digging. So I'm continuing to walk around and ask other Volkswagen experts. So we just asked another guy whether he could give me any information on this engine. So the official line is it's a new generation of engine from Ford. It's very cryptic with them, and I keep asking them the same question in a different way to try and get the answer. The problem is Volkswagen aren't allowed to say anything negative about the Ford. It'll be in their kind of contract and agreement, so they're not allowed to say anything about the Ford current or previous. So when I'm asking them whether it has the old Ford wet belt engine in, they can't answer me because they're not allowed to comment on previous things that Ford have done. But all they can say is this is a new generation of engine that Ford produced for the new Transit Custom and for the Transporter. So he kind of looks like he wants to tell me, but he can't say categorically it's definitely not the same engine and there's changes been made. But he's telling me, the official line is it's a new generation of engine. I don't even know exactly what that means. I just know it's different from what they're saying. Yeah, so basically it seems like it's a different engine, but we're going to continue to drill. We're going to continue to drill with the Ford guys next. Another thing I just asked them was about payload. So with how we have with the current Transporter, we have a T26, T28, T30, T32. And the T32 has front hubs, so they use different suspension. These are all the same, but they actually have a 3.4. They can go up to like nearly 3.5, which is, I think, is the point where you need a Class 2 driving license, so it needs to change. So these are going to have a higher payload, so you'll be able to get, which will be really handy for the people that make heavy camper vans and stuff. They'll be able to take, I think would be 1.8 tonne in load. So an extended platform, so the vehicles will be able to take a higher weight, and it'll be down to springs and dampers and stuff that change that, but the way they're mounted to the vehicle will be the same. So when we develop a suspension now, it'll be the same. Yeah. So if we're developing suspension for their T26, it'll be the same suspension that goes in the T34, whatever they call it. But yeah, just another bit of information. We'll continue to get other nuggets if we can. So we just walked on a bit. Actually, we found a panel van version with a commercial-looking bumper. So what would be considered a start line version, although this is the electric one, as I showed you before, with the electric charging point in there. So hopefully you found this video useful. I know we've still not answered that one big burning desire, that big question everybody's asking, but we wanted to try and give you a comparison between the Ford and the Volkswagen, so you get a better understanding, because it's just kind of been very up in the air of how much of it is a collaboration. But Volkswagen have done a whole lot of their styling, Volkswagen have done a lot of the interior, they've done their own infotainment systems, they've done their own front end, they've done their own rear, but yes, the rest of it, engine, drive system, the gearbox and that is Volkswagen.
That's what they said, isn't it? The main parts of the main drivetrain is Ford, but other than that, they've done their best to make it feel like a Volkswagen.
Suspension's different, as we said, infotainment system's different. It will feel, and sitting when you drive it, it will feel like a Volkswagen. Yeah. If you've driven a Ranger and you've driven an Amarok, or you watch the reviews on the Ranger and Amarok on YouTube, like people will say the Amarok drives so much nicer than the Ranger, and it's just down to what Volkswagen do to make it their own. We were talking to about UK months ago about suspension for these, and they were saying that they were working with Volkswagen on the suspension for the existing version, the T7, but they weren't working with Ford, so we already knew that Volkswagen would be having different suspension components across the two. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do like the video, it means a lot. The more people that like it, the more YouTube shares it with other people. We are going to continue to grill that Ford guy. I just want somebody to say categorically, this is what they've changed about their engine. But I believe them when they say they're just being very PC, aren't they? They're just being very politically correct, and they don't dare say, nobody dares say in a statement, there was a problem with the old engine. That's what they're basically doing. If they say they've changed something, it means that then they've then got to admit that the previous engine had a problem, and nobody wants to. They're uncomfortable when we're asking them, aren't they? They're like, So we'll continue to grill them until somebody's prepared to say for sure what's changed. But I believe the engine that's in, that one, that's electric, the engine that's in the Volkswagen one is different in some way to stop the issue that Ford had with the wet belt. And it actually drives really well. Our Transit Custom drives really well. I've put quite a lot of miles on that thing, other than it being a manual or like an auto. Drives really well. That's just me being a snob. Please do subscribe to the channel, ring that little bell to get notifications when new videos come out, and as always, thanks for watching.